I couldn't believe that I was really here, outside Alex's Lily's house. I was gonna go inside and find the secrets about what happened. For you who are just joining us, my name is Walter, and I live in a town in Vermont, which is called Maybrook. This town is just like any other town, but this one Wednesday in March of 2023, 2 years ago, there was an incident where a third grade class, all of them got up and ran away from home. They all did it at the same time. No one forced them, and there was no signs of forced entry. And unfortunately, my sister was one of the classmates, and I saw her run away from the house. And with this guilt I've been dealing for about 30 days, I'm here to figure out the truth about what happened. You see, there was only one student that didn't run away from home. His name was Alex, and he was the only one that didn't run away from home, which made everyone curious, including me. So currently, I was outside his house as the sun began to rise, it was like 5:30 in the morning. But I was going to go inside and figure out the truth. What was I going to do? I had no idea. But for all I know is that I was going to go outside, find Alex, make him speak the truth if he was lying or not, and I don't know, find the classmates, including my sister? Who knows? But I was here. It's been so long that I haven't seen my sister. I couldn't wait any longer. So I set my bike against a tree, and I slowly walked across the street, and I got to Alex's porch. I hesitated to knock. I didn't know why. But I turned back, not to leave, but something made me, and I noticed something. The lawn of the house was not mowed. It was tall, like it's been like a long time. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to explain, but maybe since this whole incident, maybe the parents were afraid to go outside. But then that's when I remember that the aunt who is reportedly staying with Alex, who is inside the house, I assume, the parents unfortunately had a very bad stroke and weren't able to do anything. So I assume that maybe since the lawn wasn't cut, that I don't know, no one just did it at all, which is weird. Which is weird because I didn't know why the aunt did it, but I didn't really have any questions. I just needed answers. So I turned back towards the front door and I knocked slowly. 2 minutes go by. Nothing. I turned my head to the driveway, and sure enough, there was two cars in the parking lot. One truck I assumed to be the family truck, and another one that was behind the truck, which I assumed to be the aunt's. So I knocked again. Still nothing. Even though I'm 14 and I know that breaking and entering is wrong, because I've been through a home invasion once. It was not that bad, actually. I mean, nothing bad happened, just some guy wanting to have money, but that was years ago. It's not important. But I turned the knob, and the door was unlocked, which was weird. So I calmly walked into the house, and I silently closed the door. The stairs were in front of me, but I didn't want to go up there. So I first headed towards the kitchen, and there was nothing. I shined it with a flashlight since, like I said, it was still sunrise, and there was no lights on. So I looked around the kitchen until I heard a voice. "It's nice to see you, Walter." I immediately sprinted towards the front door, but before I looked to see where the voice came from, and it came from the dining room. I dropped the flashlight, and it turns out it was an old lady. From what I could tell by the bald hair and the old face, I assumed that she was going through leukemia or cancer. I don't know. But seriously, she was bald, and she looked like she was about to die, so I assumed that maybe this was the aunt, which is really old. You know how aunts are basically your mom's sister? I was confused of how this was a full-on old lady. I almost thought that this was actually Alex's mom's mom. But she was sitting at the dining room table, and sitting next to her were a man and a woman, which I assume to be Alex's parents, and Alex sitting at the other end. They were all sitting there, but the only one that was moving was the aunt. The mom and dad and Alex were just sitting there, just not blinking and just looking at the wall. So I then asked, "How do you know my name? And I'm sorry for trespassing." The lady said, "No worries. My name is Gladys. Glandys. Even though I know how to spell the word Gladys, I shrugged my shoulders and said okay. She offered me a seat, so I cautiously took a seat, and I took slow turns towards the mom and dad and Alex. I turned towards the lady and said, "Hey, what's wrong with them? They look like they're in some sort of trance." Gladys says, "Oh, don't worry. The mom and dad are dealing with a hard time because of their stroke that happened 30 days ago. And Alex is tired. It is 5:50 after all." I checked my watch. You mean 5:40? I corrected her. She nodded. But that's when things got really serious. She then took a whole bowl of water, set it on the table, pulled some sort of thorn stick, and poked one of the thorns into her finger, which made it kind of bleed, and she spreaded the blood on the stick, and she wrapped something. It looks like someone's hair, and then as she looked like she was about to break it, she then turns to me and says, "You must tell no one about what I'm about to do." As I was about to ask her, what was she about to do, she then breaks it, which echoes the whole house. In a split second, Alex, his mom, and dad grabbed forks that were nearby and started just going towards their face, repeatedly. I was horrified. I immediately ran towards Alex since he was the youngest, and I immediately tried to stop him from, just doing this. That's when the lady, a couple seconds later, finally stopped it by throwing the broken stick into the water bowl, and they all stopped and set down their forks. I looked towards the lady and I muttered, "You're a freaking witch! What is hell is wrong with you? How are you even... how?" The woman smiled evilly. I don't know what really happened after what happened, but she took another stick, wrapped something, looked another piece of hair, but I noticed something. This hair was orange. My hair. This was a piece of hair that I know that's when I remembered. I remember this one day where I was just laying down in bed, and then I felt someone touch my hair, and reminding you, the window, my bedroom window, is right above my bed, and it can be opened, and someone can climb onto the roof and open it, but is it possible that this lady was following me, and she stole a piece of my hair, and she was about to use it in this next ritual? I immediately sat back from my spot, and that made the chair fall out and fell to the ground. She then braked it, and that's why I immediately booked for a random door I can find. The front door was strangely locked, even though she didn't move. And as I was about to turn for the basement door, that's when I saw Alex and his mom and dad running towards me on full sprinting mode. I knew that this witch had made this whole family try to kill me. So I immediately ran for the basement door, and I shut it just in time before they started banging on the door like zombies. I mean, they acted like zombies, but I know zombies were just from those TV shows. No, this was not a zombie apocalypse. They were definitely controlled by this witch. And I definitely knew that this was not Alex's aunt at all. She probably falsely accused as Alex's aunt to control the parents and probably control this young 10-year-old boy named Alex. So after a sigh of relief, the only sound that was annoying me was the banging on the door. So I decided that I need to find a way out of here. I headed down the basement steps, but then that's when I full on stopped, dead in my tracks. In the basement, there were a total of freaking 17 children just standing there. I almost fell to the ground out of horrification. I realized that these were the freaking missing children. All of them. I even saw Archer's son, Matthew. That's when I figured out the dots. My theory is that, this witch had stole all of Alex's classmates to probably take their souls away so she can keep living because, from what I mentioned, she looked like she had leukemia or something, so maybe she was stealing their souls so she could stay alive. That's what witches do. I was horrified, knowing that if my sister was down here, her soul could be at very stake. So that's when I immediately ran through the crowd looking for my sister. I kept calling out her name. Haley! Haley, are you there? Haley, call for me, are you okay? I couldn't find her at all. Maybe she was deeper into the crowd, I didn't know. As I was continuing rummaging through the crowd, I then noticed an orange-haired girl. And I know that from my sister's school book yearbook in her class this year, she had orange hair, just like me. And she was the only ginger-haired in her class. That's when I knew I found her. But as I was about to sigh of relief and go get her, Gladys appeared out of nowhere behind her and tackled me. I pushed her off and I ran back up the basement steps, and I immediately dodged when the door for the basement broke down and almost hit me in the nose, and I managed to dodge it as the parents then and Alex tried to stab me with forks, but I pushed them off the steps and I ran back up into the kitchen. But the Gladys and the parents and Alex kept coming after me. So I decided to run towards a room, and I locked it. And that's when I figured out that this room that I just locked myself in was Gladys's ritual room. There was a full-on thorn tree, the thorns that she keeps getting from the thorns from. Yeah, and there was a bunch of candles. This was definitely used for her ritual. So then that's when I figured out the dots. When Gladys attacked me just a minute ago, she left some of her hair onto my clothes. I mean, just one bit. So that's when I figured out the plan. I'm gonna stop this once and for all. I don't care if nobody believes me or not, but I'm gonna end this for my sister and for everyone else who had to suffer through this emotional thing. That's when I did it. I ran towards the tree, grabbed the thorn. I used a bit of thorn to, impale my finger, which causes the blood. I wiped it across the entire stick. I wrapped Gladys's hair around it, and that's when, on the count of 3, I broke it. This time, this echo was even louder, which caused the banging on the bedroom door to stop, and silence. About a minute later, I opened the bedroom door, and there was silence, and the family was gone. I went downstairs, and that's when Gladys was standing in the doorframe to the living room, and she looked like that she realized what I did. She was like, "What have you done?" And that's when we all heard it. Running footsteps. And they were coming from the basement. They were not going down. They were coming back up. Gladys screams as she ran through the living room, right past me, and through the front door. That's when I noticed, oh my gosh, a bunch of children running from the basement and ran right past me. This was Mrs. Gandy's class. The controlled children, including my sister, which I noticed through the crowd. The children broke through the freaking windows and went through the front door and yelling and screaming at the aunt who was running down the sidewalk. I watched from the doorframe as the children were screaming and yelling and they were chasing her. I then proceeded to follow, and I sprinted down the neighborhood. Gladys went through each house trying to escape the children, but the children just broke the windows and continued chasing her. She tried to lock them behind a fence, but they just jumped over. She locked them behind a wooden fence, but they just broke the door down. These kids were unstoppable. They were still under Gladys's control, but now, since I did the ritual myself, they were after her. And since I put her hair in there, they were after her. I continued watching with fascination as these 17 children ran right after the aunt. That's when one of the girls tackled Gladys, which none other than my sister. That's when all the children came around and they surrounded Gladys as they got on top of her and they were beating her up badly. There was blood everywhere, and I cannot even mention what they did to her because it was so violent. But all I can mention is that you know how you go to a Red Lobster and you want to eat a lobster? What do you do to it when you're eating it? Yeah, that's right, you take it apart. And that's exactly what these kids did to the freaking Gladys aunt. I watched as every single body part was ripped. I had to look away because of disgustation. But after a few minutes of screaming, the screaming stops, and I look back and sure enough, there was a whole gallons of blood that was covered the yard. The kids were just standing there, their bodies soaked in her blood, and there was just a bunch of just disgusting things I cannot say. And, yeah, the kids were just surrounding her. I stayed for a couple minutes before I called out my sister's name once I saw her. That's when my sister turned her head and looked at me. Finally, after 30 freaking days, I reunited with my sister. I ran up to her and hugged her. Even though this was probably going to cause a scene and that people were probably going to come out and thought I did this, so that's what I did. I picked up my sister, who was still not speaking. She was still in the trance or something, and that's what I did. I took her home. A couple days after that, the children were reunited with their family. Matthew was reunited with his father, Archer, and Mrs. Justine Gandy she wasn't accused anymore. And Alex and his parents, they're still trying to adjust about what happened, and they're also getting some medical treatment for their faces because of the fork marks. And they're currently living together. And yeah, it was confirmed. They remember that they didn't even have an aunt, but Gladys had controlled them. And there was no stroke at all. Gladys made it all up. This incident happened 2 years ago. My sister is still struggling to talk because she was 30 days under Gladys's control. I'm still sad that she still managed to lose a part of herself. She's still trying to speak full-on paragraphs now. But I hope that the kids that were taken, I hope that they can go back to normal. I just hope. It's now currently September 2025. This situation happened 2 years ago. I'm now a junior in high school, and my sister, she's already thinking about middle school, but she's still in 5th grade. But she just draws pictures now and just shows them what she's thinking of. Like, if she wants mac and cheese for dinner, she'll draw a mac and cheese. And if she wants to go to the park, she'll draw a swing set or a slide. She just uses drawings to communicate now. And all the other kids, they're figuring out how to talk too. Matthew, he's still trying to learn, and all the others, they're barely trying to they're still figuring it out. But this was a really weird story. I didn't believe in witches. I just thought there were some folklore for Halloween tales. But now I believe in them. They are real. I don't know how this witch wanted to use a bunch of 3rd graders to take their souls away. But I managed to stop them. I saved Alex's family, including himself, and I saved all of the children. And ever since then, I've been praised as a hero. Only at 15, 16, and 14. My sister is happy for me. The latest drawing I saw in her room was me standing on a rock, which was in the park, with a bunch of people surrounding the rock and smiling and clapping and celebrating. And above me was the words in all caps, "My hero." My name is Walter, and I guess you can call me the savior of Maybrook Vermont. And ever since this situation, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch Hocus Pocus ever again. The end.